I think it was Andy Edwards. You know Andy? It's like he was on Beato. He's like a English commentator on music.
Andy Edwards. Never heard of him.
This is me at school. It's about 1983. And I go into school in the morning and I sit next to my mate, Doug. And we have this conversation.
Hey Doug, I've got an album at the weekend. Is it any good? Is it like a heavy metal album? Yeah, it's like a heavy metal album. And it's got some really good riffs on and some good fast drumming and do they do screamy, but yeah, they do all that. But I'll tell you something, you're not going to believe this. What? This album has got one song and it lasts the whole side of the album. What do you mean? Explain that again. It's like they got one song and you put it on and it starts and you listen to it and it goes on for bloody ages because I'm only 13 and when you're 13 20 minutes is a bloody long time and then it finishes and when it finishes it's the end of that side. Have they got any gaps in it so you can have a bit of a rest from listening? No, it's got nothing like that. What's this album called? 2112? That's a funny name for an album. Yeah, I know. It's like numbers, isn't it? 2112. And who's that by? It's by Rush. Oh, I've heard of them. Did they do that Tom Sawyer one? Yeah, well, that's pretty quite complex, that one. You've not heard anything. You've got to hear this 2112. It's 20 minutes long. Is it 21 minutes, 12 seconds long? No, they didn't do that. Oh, they got a missed opportunity. Yeah, I know, they should have stuck something on just to make it that length, really. They're bloody odd. Because, you know, we are anal retentive kids, aren't we? Slightly autistic on the spectrum. Yeah, we like things like that, yeah. I'm going to have to listen to it myself. I cannot believe it. They must be the only band in the world ever to have done this, I would imagine. So who else would do such a thing? You've got to be brilliant musicians for a start, and then who else would want to? Because most people wouldn't like this, would they? No, I don't reckon it is. No, I'm going to ask Shaz. Shaz, what is it, Doug? My mate Andy here, the quiet one that never talks to any girls, he's got an album by Rush. Oh, I don't like them. I don't even like the word Rush. I saw a picture of them and it made me think anybody who has anything to do with them, I won't fancy. I like Nick Haywood out of Haircut 100. Anyway, forget Haircut 100, Shaz. He's bought this album by Rush and there's a track called 2112 and it's the whole side of side one. And with
that, she melted away like the witch in Wizard of Oz. Now, the point is, we'd got it wrong. It wasn't just Rush that had done side-long epics. Loads of bands had done it. As I grew up, I wanted to know all the bands that had done this. Other bands have done them. I'm going to buy this album because it's got a side-long epic. Have you got so-and-so? Well, that's got a side-long epic. And this was a statement. It was a badge of, I'm a bloody nerd. And I don't talk to girls, right? My favourite TV show is Cosmos by Carl Sagan. And I want a track that is 20 minutes long and lasts the whole side. And I'm out to find every single one. There can only be about 12 or 13. I'm going to have every single one. But there's not, is there? There's loads and loads. And the anal retentive part of me that goes through life wanting to know about this has drawn together so many side-long epics. It's too many to deal with. An upsetting amount. But, and this is what's interesting, we now have AI. I've been creating lists. This is how this YouTube channel works. I sit in bed and when the whole day's done, and I don't know why I'm like this, it's probably some, realisation of my autism that I have that's never been diagnosed. Lists come into my head. A list will come in, and as soon as it comes in, I feel the need to write that list down. Not ranked. I've got like books. They're all over the place with lists, little lists in. All over the place, where I can. There's just a big page, some of these have got, well, there's one list there. I mean, to be able to just reach my hand up and pick, I do this anyway. And now I've been using AI to organise them. I'm writing them into AI. You know, if you were going to rank these 30 albums, what would you rank them on AI? Well, what I don't know, innovation, but also technical brilliance. Well, this would be that list. What if you did it in terms of album sales? It'd be what if it would be like the ratings given by punters, not music critics, but actual punters? Well, then you get this list. They're coming out like this. It's amazing. Is there any other? Have you got any other ones? So eventually, I've been working on a list of 100. 100 sidelong epics, and on this video, and this proves whether you're a prog fan or not, I am going to rank the 100 greatest sidelong epics from 100 to 1. I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it. You can cheer. I know you all go, oh my God, I haven't done it yet. There's going to be a certain number of rules. So I've used AI. Some of these I've known, a lot of those I don't know. Some of these I've never even listened to, right? But I've been able to use AI to come out with a sentence that explains that one album. We've got 100 here. If I was to do this on a normal video with how much I talk about each album, it would take probably a couple of days to get through. I am going to slow up when I get to 20, and then we are going to get the 10 at the end, right? Don't expect me to download bloody album artwork for all 100. You'll get the name of it, so you can scan through. I will do that. I'm going to bloody put 100 bloody titles. That's going to take me about 3 hours, right? But the point is, I will go this in the order, and I will say this as we get higher up, especially with the ones I know well, I will start to say my thing. But the ranking on this has been done by AI, and then the top 30, 20 I have fiddled with. There's certain albums they put in the top 10 that I just took out altogether. They ain't got it out on the that. Now, another thing. John Coltrane tracks or Miles Davis tracks or any jazz tracks that happen to be a side long, it's a great long side, they don't count. This has to be proper, composed, has got a structure, and fills up the whole side. Secondly, I don't mind putting in something that's not quite a side long. They might have sneaked another track onto that side, but anything that is around between 17 minutes or over classifies as a side long. So don't start saying, that's what a side long track, right? And some of these are quite short, but I thought I've got to have them. I've got to have them on this list, right? So I'm going to kick off now. Like I said, we're going to start at number 100. And we're going to rock. Well, are you ready for this? It's bloody brilliant, isn't it? The progressive rock fans are just salivating at the moment. Normally go, what the hell is this? 100. Yes, it's 100. Who else does 100? Nobody does 100. Who else do you know has done 100 anything ranking? But when you come to the sidelong epic, if you're really going to talk about it, you need the sidelong bloody YouTube, top 10. This is what we've got now. Well, and I once did 40 or 50 greatest jazz fusion guitarists. It took a bloody day to get through the last this. It was pointless, but I did do it. That's not even, I don't think it was even half the length of this one. This is a beast. So I have done 10 minutes is where the introduction is. We come up to 8 minutes or so, right? I'm now going to, I've done the introduction. I am now going to fall into darkness. When I return, you better be ready. You better be ready for what is about to come your way. Welcome, one and all, to the 100 greatest sidelong epics, ranked by me, Andy Edwards, perhaps the greatest ranker on the internet. At number 100 on my list, yes, at number 100, it doesn't even sound right, does it? I have got Graves by Caligula's Horse. I did see Caligula's Horse at a prog festival once. They were very good. I remember the guitarist had a double neck guitar which impressed me. This is modern prog metal with emotional weight. Number 99, I have Teen Angel Meets the Apocalypse by the incredible Moon Safari. I reviewed this album when it came out. It's an incredible piece of music which combines incredibly dense, complex progressive rock with a beautiful vocal style that evokes ELO, but maybe even the Carpenters. Absolutely beautiful. This is lush vocal prog, ambitious and uplifting. At number 98, I have Altitude, again, by people I'm really friends with, an incredible band, Life Signs, with the incredible John Paul and all the other people in there. And this is beautiful. Life Signs create beautiful, melodic, well-crafted prog, and this is a melodic, polished and beautifully arranged sidelong epic. And if you thought I couldn't quite remember his name, of course it's someone I've actually played with. John Young is the mastermind behind that. I hadn't forgotten him. It's just I got a lot on my plate, John, at the moment. But he did make the list at 98. At 97, I've got The Shadow Man by Dream Theater. A deep cut suite, strong ideas, right, but not as iconic as some of the other sidelong epics by Dream Theater that we may have on this list. I can't remember whether we do, because 100 of them. It doesn't matter anyway. At number 96, and I saw this live, it was quite incredible. Objects Outlive Us by Stephen Wilson. His four-dimensional epic that he took out live, and it was quite incredible with a bit of bloody film going on in the background. Atmospheric, modern, and compositionally refined. Modern prog, that's what Steve Wilson does, and we bloody love it. At number 96, I've got Objects Will Outlive Us by Stephen Wilson. Atmospheric, modern and compositionally refined. I've read that one out twice. It might be because of the nature of the subject matter and I've gone into some sort of time loop there, but I will exit that now and go on to number 95, which is the track Falling Forever by Spock's Beard. Strong modern prog, overshadowed actually by some of their bigger epics, and that makes it worth checking out if you haven't checked it out before. At number 4, I've got Numbers by the Flower Kings. This is a late period Flower Kings highlight. Again, complex and melodic. I think when we rank these, melodicism, we love it, and I think it's an easier way to create a sidelong epic. Melodicism, prettiness. But when we step back and look at these, the lack of weight maybe compositionally, the lack of heaviness that we associate with some of the great sidelong epics has just brought these down a little bit. At number 93, we have The Great Escape by Seventh Wonder. Prog metal, but with storytelling at its most emotional. We all love a bit of emotional prog metal, don't we? Sorry to butt in like this, but this video is very, very complex. So there's obviously a lot of different groups and bands and tracks in here, and I've worked with AI, and AI has been throwing up certain tracks based upon, I suppose, listeners' reviews and reviews on different prog websites. And as I've been editing, I've been going back to some of the ones I didn't know and actually having a listen to them. And in some cases, as with this one, the Seventh Wonder track, The Great Escape, or whatever it's called, it really is a pile of shite. And so this here, if you see this symbol on any of these, right, even though it's in the ranking and we've used all these different things to try and be objective, it's my opinion, only my opinion, subjective as it is with my ears, subjective as they are. But if you see that signal, that sign, you know that as far as I'm concerned, it is just a pile of poo. I don't. At number 93, no, not number 92, I keep reading the same one over and over again. At number 92, we have The Last Great Adventurer by Kaiper. Kaiper, one of my, this is an incredible album, I do know this, and Kaiper have a swing and really one of the great European prog bands, and I've never mentioned them here, but I do like them very much. Modern symphonic prog with a strong melodic writing, you see. At number 91, we have those sort of ersatz ELP copies, or are they a great progressive rock band in their own sense? Triumvirate. I never know how to say this word. I want to say triumvirate. That is probably how you triumvirate with their sidelong epic Apocalypse. German ELP style symphonic prog, very virtuosic. If you like ELP, go and check that one out, right? Okay, now at number 90 we have, and at number 89 we've got two sidelong prog epics by a progressive rock band I never mention. They were always there throughout the whole of my life, always bringing out album after album of full-on space-age strange prog, a band that I don't know enough about to really, wax lyrical on this channel. But we have 2 tracks here for you. So at number 90, I have Atlantis' Agony by Eloy. Massive, cinematic, ambitious. I've never heard this track, so I don't know what it's like, but the AI came up with it and I stuck it in, I checked it out and had a bit of a listen to it. I thought it's got to be on the list. And at number 89 we have got The Gates of Dawn by Eloy. Right, this is space prog grandeur. See, I have this sentence to read out just so it sounds like I'm saying something about it. Space prog grandeur, lust and atmospheric. Don't worry, as we get into the video, I'll be able to say more when we get to something that I've actually heard. Number 87, The Odyssey by Symphony X. I saw them do this live many years ago. It wasn't my thing. But here we have it, epic, bombastic, technically stunning. Symphony X are like one up from bloody Dream Theater, aren't they? Proper bloody all over the place, that lot. And of course, beating that, we've got The Divine Wings of Tragedy at number 86 by Symphony X. Neoclassic metal prog at its most iconic. 85, The Flower Kings crop up again. Right, now normally on a top whatever it is, I'll only have a band on once, and once they're on, they're not allowed to go on again. I didn't think that was right when we were trying to be quite, really cover a lot of sidelong epics. You can see I've got to do this. I'm hoping if you're sat there, a real nerdy prog fan, and you are a fan of Glasshammer or Flower Kings, that you will appreciate the fact that at least they're being read out. You might not like it that I've probably not listened to any of these tracks, or I've just given the cursory, which I did. I went through a lot of these and gave it a cursory list on YouTube, about a minute or so, and said, yeah, that sounds like an epic. But at least it's here for you. So number 85, I've got Stardust We Are by the Flower Kings, which is a melodic, emotional, and quintessentially the Flower Kings. At number 84, we've got Garden of Dreams by the Flower Kings. Massive, sprawling, uneven, but full of brilliance. Number 83, we have Chronometry by Glasshammer. Never talk about Glasshammer here. A playful retro prog concept suite. And at 82, we have The Light of Day by Glasshammer. Right? Symphonic prog with a yes-like ambition. Now, at 81, we have some mates of mine, my partner in crime on bass in the world of prog. John Jowett was also a member of this band. I have no idea if he played on this track or not. I don't know enough about him. I've actually been out live with the Arena guys playing some of their stuff live, but I still don't know this track. It's called Light at the End of the Tunnel by Arena. Very strong neo-prog suite with a dramatic flair. Right, that was 81. We have done the first 20, and I want to chapter that, and we're going to call that neo-prog, modern prog, and deep cuts. That's what we've just been looking at in there. They're all down the bottom, all the sort of scraps from the prog world, by the sort of bands that were in that. So we're going to go move to something else now. I think we're going to have to start trawling through a whole bunch of bloody krautrock, aren't we, really? You think that's the one? Yeah, shall we do that then? You ready for this one? So what we got next? So, where were we up before? We were like at 81. So we're now at 80. So at 80, I have one of the great neo-prog bands, friends of mine. Again, I've gone out and played some of this, but I never played this one, probably because it was too long to learn. The Masquerade Overture by Pendragon. Neo-prog grandeur, emotionally rich. At number 79, I've got The Last Epic by ACT. Quirky, melodic, and compositionally tight. Okay, I know nothing about these tracks. At number 78, we have Day 2, Isolation by Arian. One of the strongest individual Arian chapters. Arian, obviously, do these, multiple sidelong epics, really taking its lead from things like Tales from Topographic Oceans. Do you treat these as a whole? I don't know. Well, I do know you don't. You treat them as individual sidelong epics, and that might give you a bit of a clue how we're going to deal with Tales from Topographic Oceans. We've also got number 77, The Dream Sequencer by Arian. Atmospheric, emotional, and beautifully paced. And then at number 76, we've got The Banishment by Arian. Heavy, dramatic, and operatic. Arian on my list own the 70s. Not the decade, you know what I'm saying. Then at 75, we've got The Final Experiment, Suite by Arian. The birth of the Arian universe, theatrical and melodic. Yeah, very good stuff, Arian. Yeah, who wants to listen to this shite? So number 74, we have The Dream of the Ring of Power by Ein Sof. Now you're slowly, just because you don't know these bands, bringing in a sort of prejudice you have against prog, aren't you? That's what you're really doing here. You're using these idiotic epics here, because I've got to be honest, when I read of a Japanese symphonic prog band copying the warmth that comes from the 70s prog band Camel, and they're called Ein Sof, and they have a title called The Dream of the Ring of Power. The Ring of Power from Lord of the Rings. It goes to bed at night. It gets cuddled up in bed, and he has a little dream. What's it dream of? I don't know, doing ring type things, going on different people's fingers. What did you dream about last night, Ring? Ooh, I was on Sophia Loren's finger. Oh, that might have been good. At number 73, we have The Great Work by Fido. Modern art prog with a strong thematic unity. The Great Work. What should we call the sidelock epic? Well, we really worked on it a lot. It's like a great work. Let's just call it that. I knew some of the early ones a little bit more than these. We're really in the mire here, aren't we? What the hell's this one? At number 72, we've got The Dance of Flames by Agitation Free. If somebody knows this band and knows this, put it in the comments. I don't believe anybody's ever listened to this. Right. Agitation Free. This is Middle Eastern infused krautrock, hypnotic and exploratory. Sounds quite interesting, actually. German symphonic space rock, quirky and ambitious. Number 70, we've got Atlantis by Earth and Fire. Not Earth, Wind and Fire. That would be bloody brilliant if they'd done a thing. And I think they did do a track called Atlantis as well. Symphonic prog. Concept piece with strong melodies. As we get through these ones here, well, I don't know them at all. I'm worried that AI has made this up just to make me look a fool. I'm dying here. Where are we up to now, God? Are we a third of the way yet? Not quite. Atlantis, Earth and Fire, symphonic prog. Is this a thing? Next band I've heard this one. I listened to this one, it's bloody amazing. Il Banchetto by PFM. Pastoral multi-section Italian prog suite. Right, number 68. We've got Was this video really a good idea? Anyway, but should have been attempted by someone who's got a bit of knowledge of prog. I mean, why went down the shite end of this? I don't know what's bloody going on here. I know the next band, one of the biggest bands in the world, and they've made it to number 67. I think this is a bit of a snub for this band, actually. So at number 67, we have Concerto for a Rainy Day by ELO. Symphonic prog, pop prog with a huge melodic payoff. I think that's totally right. At number 66, we see the first real classic, iconic sidelong epic, one that we will always talk about. I'm not a fan of it. I'm sure many of you are. Plague of Lighthouse Keepers by Van der Graaf Generator. Dark, theatrical, structurally daring. I'm surprised that it was rated so low, even though I'm not a fan of it. At number 65, we had one that I put on. It was in my top 10. This is one of my favourite sidelong epics, absolutely virtuoso, is Mumps by Hatfield the North. This is one of these tracks that doesn't occupy the whole side, but we're going to class it, so 20 minutes long. I've got a description here which says, Canterbury complexity at its most playful. Mump is one of my favourites, sidelong epics. We're starting to get back. I'm starting to worry a bit, you know. At number 64, I've got Dogs by Pink Floyd. Animals is one of proper progressive rock fans' favourite Pink Floyd albums. It gets a little bit overlooked, sandwiched as it is between Wish You Were Here and The Wall. I think most of us would say that Animals is definitely better than The Wall now in retrospect. Whether some of you see it as being better than Wish You Were Here, I don't know. And of course, as I gotta say again, Dogs isn't a whole side long, it's a bloody long track, and I decided to allow it when it came up with this, right? At number 63, we have properly we've had Yellow, but this is the first sidelong epic which is not from the prog genre, and I thought we need to put it on here just for balance. So at number 63, I have Love to Love You Baby by Donna Summer. This is the birth of the extended disco suite. It was Giorgio Moroder's breakthrough. This really set up for these long sort of, hypnotic dance and house tracks that, filled up, nightclubs in the 1980s. It's incredibly influential, and it really is a sort of mixture between American soul, especially Parliament Funkadelic, all that type of funky disco-y stuff that was coming out, Earth, Wind and Fire, but combined with the sort of minimalism of Kraftwerk. It's Kraftwerk prog. I could do a whole video on that. Right, so at number 62, I allowed this one in. This is one of the first sidelong epics in rock history. It might be the birth of the sidelong epic. It's not prog, but it has a certain quality to it which I think inspired the idea of a pop stroke rock musician making something that lasts that long. It is, by Bob Dylan, Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. A lyrical epic, hypnotic, poetic, and structurally simple. So that was 61 to 80. That was the second chapter, and we're going to call this one Important, Interesting, Underrated. Right? Oh, and of course, I haven't read out number 61 yet. Another early proto-epic by one of the sort of early psychedelic bands that laid the foundation for prog. We've got Revelation by Love. A proto-jam long-form experiment, messy but influential. But I think these early ones, we need to think they influenced later prog epics. Right. At number 60, I've got by Rare Earth. Right? Rare Earth, I have Get Ready, which is like a soul rock jam extended into the sort of almost like trippy psychedelic territory. Again, not quite prog, but I think organised enough and not falling into just the random jamming category to get on the list. At number 59, we have Fountains of Lamneth by Rush. This is Rush's first sidelong epic, very ambitious. I think it's a failure, but it's a wonderful failure. Some of the individual musical moments are wonderful. They have problems stitching it all together. 2112 having a much stronger narrative than this. Does anyone know what the hell this is about? I don't think anyone does. It's flawed, but it's foundational in terms of the Rush story. I have to be honest, now I have again started to warm to this track a lot more. It is a little bit like some great musicians just smoked a bit too much dope on this session, and they're just doing whatever they want to do. And maybe this is the sketch pad on which all further Rush stuff, this is the sketch pad that creates the sort of colour box from which Rush they make everything, whether it's Xanadu, Cygnus X1, 2112, Jacob's Ladder. It comes out of the experimenting that came here. Oh, I did containers. Anyway, I'm talking to myself there. Number 59, Fountains of Lamneth by Rush. At number 58, I've got Atom Heart Mother by Pink Floyd. I think this is after the first album, this is Pink Floyd's first real major triumph. Everyone thinks it's Meddle, but I think Atom Heart Mother, although it's nothing like, you know, Echoes or Dark Side of the Moon, it's an incredible sort of almost like British lumpy gravy by, you know, Frank Zappa's track. It's incredibly ambitious. It's got a full orchestra, but it's uneven. But I like the sort of cut up, almost like John Zorn aspects of Atom Heart Mother. And it might be, as time goes on, if you could get away from this narrative of Pink Floyd being, you know, the authors of The Wall and one of the biggest selling bands. It's incredible that one of the biggest selling bands in history made a track like this. Sidelong, insane, cut-up masterpiece. I do love it, you know. I love Atom Heart Mother. Incredible. Number 57. In the Hell 'Twas in I, Procol Harum. We never mentioned Procol Harum. There they are in the mid to late 60s, really laying so many foundational aspects of progressive rock. This is one, if not the first, truly epic prog suites. It's incredibly influential. This was a big band at the time. How many people listened to this in Yes or Genesis or King Crimson or, you know, Van de Graaff Generator? How many people were influenced by this track? Makes you think, doesn't it? And number 56, I have got Whipping Post. Me and AI have worked on this. I really do think it does have the 100 best, you know. And some of the ones I've never heard of, I have to trust AI. I have put a lot in. So I obviously did put this one in. Whipping Post by the Allman Brothers from the album Live at the Fillmore East, right? The thing I love about this track is they really improvise. You've got two guitarists, but you've also got two drummers. And it's the sound, I think, that's really influenced, and I'd love to know where it comes in the sort of lineage of Frank Zappa, because Zappa's long guitar suites, I believe, are influenced by this. I don't know whether I don't think it was around early enough to influence Hot Rats. Maybe it's the fact that Hot Rats was influencing the Allman Brothers, I don't know. But Zappa does show his love for this track, because on the album Them or Us, he then does a shorter version of Whipping Post. But when you get lost in the improvisation in the middle of that, it's absolutely beautiful, so incredibly played, and so expressive without being going into the realms of jazz. You know I love jazz, but it's very easy with the abstractness of jazz to create something that's 20 minutes long. The Allman Brothers can't do that. They have to work within the realms of, you know, blues and soul a little bit to create something that works over the time that lasts for. Right, we're getting back into the krautrock world now. We've got the track Amboss, Ashrar Temple. I assume the band's, I don't even know what the name of the band is, Ashrar Temple. And it says here, this is the heavy explosive counterpart to Traumachine. Heavy and explosive counterpart to another bloody epic by some band called Ashrar Temple. I know this track. I know the album. Yeah, this is incredible. This is very bloody obscure stuff. Number 54. Right, one of my favourite of the sort of rock European bands now. Great track. Yeah, You Do Right by Can. Of course, Can are exploring this sort of trancey, sort of futuristic, almost like Miles Davis-y on the corner-esque hypnoticness, but it's got its own cold, glassy feel to it. Cano, I think, are the greatest one, and they do what they do, I think, is completely unique. Repetitive trance rock I put down here. And of course, this influence, by the time you get to the 90s, you get all that sort of electronica groups, like people like Radiohead, that's really influencing that. But yeah, incredible stuff. And Can, I don't own an album by Can, or do I? No, I don't think I do. I think I might have some live thing somewhere. Right, this is a great one to have on here, and this is one I added to the list, right? We don't expect any punk groups to crop up here, but of course we forget the Damned. And from there, was it their 1980 album? We get Curtain Call. It's incredible. And it does seem to sit somewhere between punk and prog. I love this track. It's dark, it's compelling, organised enough to feel that you're on this long journey, but not organised like a bloody Yes track. This I would describe as goth prog. Right, incredibly underrated, Damned, incredibly underrated band in the history of prog, because we don't include them in the list. I know I've got to put some of these tracks on for the fans. I'm not a fan of this band particularly. I don't know why. I've tried my best. But at number 51, we've got De Futura by Magma. Zool. You know what Zool is? It's their style of music. They've got their own style of music. Zool at its most apocalyptic, hypnotic, and terrifying. At number 50, we've got from Soft Machine, Moon in June, from the album Third. A psychedelic jazz masterpiece. And it was really, for Soft Machine, Robert Wyatt's last great vocal moment. He was gone after that. And without those vocals, they transformed from being a progressive rock band to a jazz rock fusion band. Moon in June. At number 49, we have some medieval prog for you. Midnight Mushrooms by Griffin. And beautifully composed, subtle, somewhere between proper true medieval music and some sort of weird electric rock band, you know, put together by people that you think, well, what century do they come from? You know, incredible band. I love Griffin. Right, this is embarrassing, but it's on the list. So at number 48, we've got Million Town by Frost. Of course, I was the drummer in Frost. I drummed on this track, Million Town, although it was heavily manipulated by computers, something that I was never too happy with. And as that became more public on the internet, it sort of built up to you should go and check it out. It's one of the most uncomfortable interviews I've ever done on this channel, where I chat to Jem and John Mitchell out of Frost, and this topic comes up.
Hey there! Want to play? Great! I love guessing games, especially when I'm sure to win. Think of an animal. Say, okay, when you're ready.
So if you two could think of an animal right now, he's not listed now, so confer, come up with an animal.
Marmoset.
But I don't know whether to feel proud about Million Town or not, but in terms of composition, in terms of a side like Epic, I think this is too low ranks. I think it's one of the greatest sidelong epics going. And on that album, we have Black Light Machine and Hyperventilate, which are all around about the 15-minute mark. Maybe Hyperventilate is 10-minute. But I would say Black Light Machine is another contender for a sidelong epic length track. But yeah, Million Town is incredible, based upon a book which tells the story of someone who's brought back to the dead to be a vampire, dystopian, zombie prog thing. Anyway, I don't know. Jem is a genius when it comes to this stuff. Absolutely brilliant composed. I would have liked to have some of my real drums on it though. You know, that would have made me feel a little bit more prouder of this moment rather than feeling like I've got to explain myself, which I have. I mean, the time's passed now. I think I've proved myself here on YouTube. I could prove I can play the drums. I've proved myself. I no longer have to feel guilty as I did in 2009 when the DRP prog poll, which was quite an important poll, placed me as the third greatest progressive rock drummer in the world, behind Neil Peart and Mike Portnoy, for my work on the album Million Town, which I knew was basically all programmed by Jem. He probably delights in the fact that he caused me so much grief and distress with having to feel like this. But I think now I don't need to prove myself anymore, you know. I might be a shite drummer, not good enough to play for Frost. You know, it might have been that I needed to have recourse to the program drums because my drums wasn't good enough. Maybe I didn't tick the perfectionist box that Jem expects from a drummer. I'm not really that type of drummer, and I've wrestled with all of this. Maybe this is why I take such a stance now about expressing yourself and not quantizing and getting all you know. I mean, you didn't come here for this, you know, psychological assessment, or you could call breakdown halfway through. But these things, they're bloody hell, Frost, a stain on my bloody, on my emotional bloody balance. Nobody's fault, just is what it is. Number 47, I've got The Whirlwind by Transatlantic. Yeah, it's all right. I've got that. I think I got it on DVD though, live version of it. Ambitious, sprawling, occasionally uneven, but with full of peaks. Yeah. At number 46, we've got another absolute classic here. Carnival 9 by ELP. This is even actually longer than a side. It sort of starts on side 1 and then goes over to side 2. Bombastic, excessive, brilliant, the ultimate ELP statement. I think really lays the ground for that sort of dystopian, futuristic structure that we get with 2112, right down to that voice in the end, sort of that you know, dystopian voice appearing. I'm sure Rush copied that straight from ELP. At number 45, I've got The Fall of the House of Usher by the Alan Parsons Project. Gothic, cinematic, immaculately produced. I've just picked up some Alan Parsons Project albums, but they're 1980s ones. I know I'm missing out here. I have listened to them. Back in the old days, it was a little bit nice for me. But as I've got older, I could take nice. Another band that is towards the nice end of prog is Camel. And they didn't really, I mean, we could say that the Snow Goose album is 2 side-long EPICS, but there's another track by them, Lady Fantasy, not quite a side-long, but Camel are so competent at doing this type of stuff. Snow Goose proves this. They really know how to compose, right? And not just for the prog sandwich, you know, just to write a song, have a proggy bit, write another song, have a proggy bit, write another song, have a proggy bit, then have a big bloody uplifting proggy bit at the end. That's your usual structure. But Camel are much more compositionally able to pull that off. A Lady's Fancy, great track. I'm really starting to like Camel as I get older. Number 43, we have The Awful Grendel by Marillion. Flawed but foundational, the birth of neo-prog ambition. All this is true, right? I know people in that band. I know people who can't stick playing it that are in that band. It's naive. Grendel's naive, but its vision is quite incredible. It really is. But we've got it there, Grendel by Marillion. It's on the list. At number 42, I've got God and the Universe by Car Mechanic. A sweeping, emotional, symphonic epic. Car Mechanic, great, very sort of fusion influenced prog from Europe. So at number 42, now next one is number 41, and we've got Singularity by Devin Townsend, which is cosmic, emotional, genre bending, you know, erring towards prog metal, but in a way which is quite quirky. You know, great musician. You know, Devin Townsend. I haven't spoke to him about him that much on this channel, but I like him. I obviously came to sort of prominence on Sex and Religion by Steve Vai, a massive sort of pop prog metal album. I feel I might have to go back to that. No side like EPICS on there, but God in the Universe is Singularity is Devin Townsend's side like EPIC. You can see I can't say much more about it. Right, number 40. Oh, you want to know what that chapter, those 20 have been called, right? I've called this one Modern Giants and Cult Classics. It's because we're getting a few of the epic ones in there. Right. At number 40, I've got The Garden by Unitopia. Lush, cinematic, emotionally rich. Unitopia, they're like one of those prog bands that we have nowadays. They do what they say on the tin. Proper prog. At number 38, the Flower Kings are on here again. They've already got quite a lot of tracks on here with The Truth Will Set You Free. A sprawling, joyous celebration of classic prog tropes. At number 37, we have the incredible, one of the greatest, in my mind, one of the greatest sidelong prog epics ever made. It could be in the top 10, definitely in the top 20 for me, but AI stuck it right down at number 37. Don't know why. Probably to just try and get at me, because I don't bloody warm to this AI. She seems to have it in for me, that's all I'm saying. Always bloody arguing with me. Anyway, that's beside the point. So at number 37, we've got Harvest of Solves by IQ. Right, I didn't play on it. I joined IQ for the tour that went with that album, Dark Matter. And so I got to play this over and over again live.
I'm brought to life with a series of shocks.
Right, I am on both versions that appear on the Stages DVD. So there's recordings of me playing this. I've had to play it. Every time I played it, this one would start up, and before you knew it, you're at the end of the track. You know, even though there's all that complexity, you're having to know, these are hard things to do live, I tell you. I've been there doing it. All right? But this was so beautifully composed. IQ know exactly how to deliver a sidelong epic. You're going to get everything. Now, of course, they take their influence from progressive rock bands, most notably Genesis, right? So if you think of Genesis' sidelong epic, Supper's Ready, you will hear the inspiration, but in a way, IQ are darker. They're quirky, but they're darker than Genesis. This is, it has the feeling that it's political. I played it out in America, and they had video accompanying it with American flags waving, and I think the Americans didn't quite know what to make of this. What's it about? But it's not, Pete's not making a political statement. He's making a personal statement that draws in aspects of the time in which this was written. It's an incredible piece of music. I think IQ are one of the great progressive rock bands. Very proud to have played with them. So at number 36, we got Visions by Hacken. Modern prog metal's most compositionally coherent epic. It's an incredible piece of music. I had this when it came out, sat and listened to it. I was blown away by it. I had to, you know, because I was involved in Frost at the time, I was a little bit distrustful to whether anyone was actually playing on this record. How much of this is computers? It's so perfectly played. It's so complex. It's so nailed. Maybe they can play like that and I can't. I don't know. But if you like prog metal and you like Dream Theater and you want to go to something that's like Dream Theater plus with elements of Gentle Giant, go and check out Visions by Hacken. At number 35, I've got The Great Nothing by Spock's Beard. And this video is starting to kill my voice. I've had a cold for the last week. I felt a lot better today. But all this talking now is taking a strain on my voice. I do apologise, and we're only at 35. But we are over halfway, so we will get there one day. You know, and I might just have a voice when we get to the end of it. Spock's Beard, The Great Nothing at number 35. The emotional apex of modern prog. And Neil Morse, of course, one of the great progressive rock composers, a visionary, and perhaps his masterpiece. We had a Dream Theater one earlier on, a much more deeper cut. This one is much more famous. 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. Full symphonic metal suite, ambitious and tight. Even better than that, at number 33, we have A Change of Seasons by Dream Theater. The modern metal prog benchmark, emotionally heavy and virtuistic. Right. At number 32, another masterpiece by Can, this time Bel Air, a shimmering, drifting krautrock masterpiece. Number 31, incredibly influential here, Inagada de Vida by Iron Butterfly. Yeah, it's padded out by a drum solo, you know, so is it really a sidelong masterpiece? But of course, this sold so much, it really laid the groundworks for heavy metal as well as prog. So I think that Inagada de Vida is primitive but massively influential. The proto-metal blueprints. Another prog band I never mentioned here, been around for decades and decades. They get a mention here now. I've got Nectar with Remember the Future. A cult classic, cohesive, melodic and forward-thinking. Nectar always had that slightly psychedelic sound. I really like that, which some of the British prog bands didn't have. I mean, obviously I can't remember what. Are they from Britain or not? I think some of them anyway. Right, so we have here at number 29. At number 28, we've got Dark Star by the Grateful Dead, off the Live Dead album, which you could see as probably being the Rosetta Stone of improvisational rock. Number 27, we've got Ommadawn by Mike Oldfield. Organic, warm folk prog and long form perfection. Mike Oldfield's the bloody, I mean, he's the genius of sidelong epics, really. You know, so much there and such a strong composer. At number 26, we've got Moving Waves. Or as it's also known, Eruption by Focus. A volcanic instrumental epic, guitar keyboard warfare. They're very English in the way they structure stuff, very quirky, but they also operate like a fusion band as well. And with Jan Akkerman, they have one of the great sort of firepower guitarists of the 1970s. Incredible stuff. Where were we focused? So the next one is Scheherazade. Is that what you say? Scheherazade by Renaissance. Symphonic prog, it's his most elegant and probably Annie Haslam's finest hour. I would agree. I'm not a fan of Renaissance, but they're there, aren't they, doing their thing. At number 24, we've got the Hamburger Concerto. Probably focus at their prog rock peak in that period in prog where all the bands just went that little bit too far, and Focus do that here. This is a masterclass in thematic development and classical rock fusion. Incredible. The Americans, where are they? Are they going to figure on this list, you know, and not be some jam band? Where's the proper full-on sidelong prog epics from the American bands? Well, we're going to have one now with The Icon by Utopia, a modular prog masterwork, Rundgren's most ambitious composition. I would say that's true. A lot of Todd Rundgren fans, I think they feel that Utopia are a little bit too cliched. I always feel he's got his tongue in his cheek. He's so out there, and I think Utopia is almost like he's taking the mickey out of the British prog bands as much as just emulating them, but that's another thing. Right, and number 22, absolute masterpiece, A Passion Play by Jethro Tull. Obviously, there might be a couple of other Jethro Tull ones that are going to rate higher. for me, this is the best one, but I understand it. This is a little bit more objective, but an incredible piece. So complex, so lyrically dense, and it's absurd and it's heavy all at the same time. A passion play by Jethro Tull. The densest, most probably most out there statement. People talk about Tales of Topographic Oceans, passion play. Bloody hell, what an achievement that one is. We're now at number 21. 21. We 21 to 40. That was the third chapter here, or fourth chapter. No, it was actually, was it the third? No, we got 100. We divided in 20. So it's the fourth chapter, Andy. Get your maths right. And at 21, finishing this chapter, we have an absolute classic, Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd, I Wish You Were Here. Atmosphere as architecture, a perfect slow burn elegy, almost like a new sort back in 1975 when this album came out. A different type of sidelong epic. Pink Floyd, in a way, still leading the way. Incredible piece of music. So we now are in the top 20. So we're now going to get some album covers. So I'm going to move over here. Give myself a little bit of space to put them album covers up easy. Right, so some of these I know really well. Some of these I don't know at all. They've been ranked very highly by AI. So I feel they should be in. And we have that at number 20. Canner here again, you know, as we can see, one of the great krautrock bands with You can see why I don't do the bloody krautrock, can't you, with these names like this? This is radical studio deconstruction, proto-ambient and proto-industrial. Both protos contained in this one, number 19, by Can. I still can't add that much to these. I know this tune, very important. I listened to it once. Many years back when I was trying to get my head round the old krautrock. This one is Phallus Dei by Amundul II, the birth of German psychedelic long-form tradition. Fair enough. Right, number 17, here it comes. This is high up on the list. This is the 17th greatest sidelong epic. Remember this? It's by Yes, the first time Yes appeared. So Yes just come in. Right, they just drop in. We haven't even been around yet. So here we come, number 17, straight in. And this is interesting because this is really high, and yet this is perhaps has the, dubious honour of being Yes's worst sidelong epic. Now, are Yes the masters of the sidelong epic? What do you think? So at number 17, we got Ritual, also known as Nous sommes du soleil, by Yes, the spiritual climax of Tales, rhythmical, emotional and transcendence. I always felt Ritual was stronger than some of the other stuff on that album, but it was probably because I also had Yes shows where they performed it split into two parts, which made it a little bit more digestible. So when I finally got Tales of Topographic Oceans, the one track I didn't know was Ritual. So I always felt that was one of the strongest tracks, you know. But here we got it, number 17. At number 16, we've got Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield. The most commercially successful long-form instrumental ever. Quite achievement, Mr. Oldfield, I would say, wouldn't you? Sits there. You know, I think Oldfield is underrated. I think this is too low. I think Tubular Bells should be in the top 10. Tubular Bells could be in the top 5. But that's where AI has put it here. And when you're dealing with 100, you have to go with what it says. And I have moved some of these around. This is interesting. At number 15, we have the Terrapin Station Suite from the album Terrapin Station. If you know Grateful Dead as the great sort of American jam band, and they featured on this list, right? Go and check out the virtuoso majesty of Terrapin Suites. Unbelievable. I love this album. It's definitely the Dead's most structured studio epic, and it's a rare conceptual triumph. It exists on its own. I think they made an album maybe before this, which is erring towards this much more progressive rock type of approach. This also has the honour of being one of the great sidelong epics by a truly American progressive rock band. This is where Grateful Dead went prog. At number 14, we have The Ancients by Yes. Harsh, angular, rhythmically radical, the most avant-garde Yes ever got, which is true. Over a sidelong epic. I think it was my favourite when I got Tales from Topographic Ocean, and I'm glad they've been able to, put it up a little bit higher. But we could see now, when it comes to Tales from Topographic Ocean, the second disc is definitely not as strong as the first. Interesting. At number 13, we have The Ninth Wave by Kate Bush, one of the great sidelong epics from the 1980s. This is full-on prog. It's got everything. I've got it down here as perhaps the greatest narrative storytelling sidelong epic, because Kate Bush could do it. All right, now the story is obtuse. It's not obvious. The story of 2112 is obvious. That's why that works. That was what Rush realised when they did that. But Kate Bush is able to weave something else. This has the distillation of a moment and then the sort of expansion of that over a large time period that takes in a sort of esoteric, almost like paganistic view of British history. And it's very powerful for that. It's a piece of art, in other words. And you have to be a songwriter of a certain level. Kate Bush is without doubt the greatest songwriter on this list. So when she turns her hand to a sidelong epic, and she's done more than this, she also did a sidelong epic, in fact a CD long epic on Ariel. Only marred by the fact that it originally had bloody Rolf Harris in it. But that's another question, isn't it? Another discussion. Right, at number 12, I have got Tarkus from the album Tarkus by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Keyboard-driven prog at its most iconic and structurally bold. This is rating a lot higher than Brain Salad Surgery. Tarkus, I think it's the LP's finest moment. Side 2 of Tarkus is a little uneven. I think their best album now, after really mulling this over, is the one that followed on that with their Three Faces on the Front trilogy. I love that album. I think as an artistic statement, the first album's the best, and that's got a dark gothicness that they sort of moved away from. But in terms of virtuoso sidelong epic utilising Keith Emerson's incredible compositional ability, I think Tarkus is a high point for them, number 12. And number 11, I've got The Remembering by Yes, side 2 of Tales from Topographic Oceans, and in a way criminally underrated. This is subtle, right? We all know now that side 1 is the great statement, and they did it like that. Side 2 is subtle. It was my least favourite when I was a kid. Coming back to it more recently, I realised how beautiful it was. It's criminally underrated, one of the most beautiful long form pieces ever written, would you not say? Right. At number 10, I have by King Crimson, Lizard. Subtle, jazzy, harmonically incredibly advanced. This is an early prog epic. It's probably King Crimson's great statement in towards prog epic complexity. They do it before everybody else, and I think it inspires the great epics that we're about to go through in a minute. It really is the sidelong epic that really says, look, we have now laid down a sort of standard. Who could come up with something like this? Is this prog or not prog? We had Donna Summer early on, and that's really an extension of this tune. So at number 9, I've got by Kraftwerk, Autobahn. I know it's going to annoy certain people here. The birth of electronic long-form minimalism changed modern music. Perhaps the most influential piece of music on this list. At number 8, we have The Revealing of Science of God by Yes. You know, Tales from Topographic Oceans finally gets its due. This is majestic, flowing, and compositionally rich. It's unbelievable. And in a way, being part of these 4, we don't weigh in the same way as the other sidelong epics that are going to be turning up. But we know they're going to be coming up in a minute. It's a masterpiece. We've got it coming at number 8. The 8 great, you know, it's incredible. What's better than that? Well, Rush now appear. I would have these 2 the other way round, but at number 7 we have Hemispheres. This is their densest, most technically intricate, most advanced. This is a piece of music that just took Rush a little bit beyond what they were capable of, and you see them winding back on Permanent Waves. If you love Rush for the virtuosity, if you love Rush for what they can do as a trio, and it is absolutely awe-inspiring, this is its peak, but it doesn't have the iconicness of what I think is the more uneven epic, but what they're known for, which is what's number 6, which is 2112. Like I said, this is a very objective list. I would have this in a different place. I find the faffing about with the acoustic guitar in the cave, it's filler. It's like, it's a way of getting around the ability to create a sidelong epic. I even think Hemispheres is amazing, but drags in the middle. But these are, for the general public, the sidelong epics. And I think for most people, when I did my sort of lampoon at the beginning of this video, it was 2112, I decided to pick as the sort of platonic sidelong epic. So that's why we got it at number 6. It marks the end of the sidelong epic era in prog, and marks the beginning of the sort of influences it's going to bring around the new age of British heavy metal, thrash metal, going to bring about sort of prog metal and a whole bunch of other stuff, and influence fusion in a way. So 2112 is a pretty heavy piece. Of course, the opening and then the sort of concerto at the beginning into the incredibly heavy rock song, you know, Temples of the Syrinx, We Are the Priests of the Temples, is just Yes at their peak, really. Well, Rush at their peak, not Yes. Bloody hell, these are hard. I've done these ones before. They're hard to keep your brain going. You know, feel like I've been punched, but we are nearly there now as we move to number 5. Again, is this too low? There's an argument that this could be the greatest prog rock sidelong epic, and it's not a sidelong, it's an album long. We've got number 5, we've got Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. Now, I want to do a whole video on this. Right, I want to delve deep into it, and I don't want to get wrapped up in the bloody cover and what it means and all that. I want to get wrapped up in the music. I'm going to put my head into this album for about 2 weeks. At some point in the future, you're going to get a Thick as a Brick video. I'm really going to go down deep into it. It's such an ambitious piece of music, and it's a lampoon. It's a lampoon of the sidelong epic. Incredible piece of music. Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. At number 5, marking the walk up now to these 4 absolutely masterpieces. 4, we're nearly there. So what have I got at number 4? Well, a monster of an epic. Gates of Delirium by Yes. Not worthy. I'm not worthy to talk about it. It's incredible. It's incredible. You put it on, it's like Harvest of Souls, it just flies by. But in the middle, it gets to such a dark place and such beautiful melodies. And we know the big prog epic Close to the Edge, which is going to be on this list in the next 3. We know it. But it almost acts as the balance to that in the dialectic of Yes epics. It's unbelievable. You know, I could easily say this is the greatest one ever made. Gates of Delirium, the most sophisticated battle ever composed in rock. At number 3, we've got Echoes by Pink Floyd. Incredible. Pink Floyd's finest moments. Emotion, atmosphere, structure. The most complete 23 minutes in rock. Absolutely incredible. A greater statement in a way than even Dark Side of the Moon, which is the greatest album ever made. And we've got that at number 3. So what beats number 3? Unbelievable. Incredible piece of music. Supper's Ready by Genesis. Now, I could have not put this on because there's that other little track, is it Horizons? I could say, no, I'm not having it. It's longer than most epics. It's such a long track. It's a story, but it's a surreal story. And it takes you on a journey. It seems to take you through. It's like, it feels to me a little bit like Jubilee, the Derek Jarman film, where Queen Elizabeth comes into the sort of punk, dystopian, modern England. And this seems to explore that. There's a sense of loss about England here with this. The definitive narrative epic, I think. Surreal, dramatic, perfectly paced. Unbelievable. Supper's Ready by Genesis. If we talk progressive rock, what's the greatest progressive rock band? We all just quite will accept it. No one argues this. This is quite a thing. You don't get it with other styles of music. What's the greatest heavy metal album? We could be arguing for ages. You know, Master of Puppets, Number of the Beast, the first Black Sabbath album. Which one is it? But with this, for some reason, no one questions it. The greatest progressive rock album is Close to the Edge by Yes. What's the greatest long-form composition? What's the greatest side-long epic? It's Close to the Edge by Yes. An incredible piece of music. Again, I may have to go back to this, I think, and really get into it and try and find out what's going on and why this has become so well known. Because for me, one track that's not on here is Awaken. Now, Awaken is around about 15 minutes. We've got tracks on here that are the same length as Awaken. I think the Bob Dylan track we included is less. If Awaken was on here, even though we accept this tune, Awaken would be here at number one. So when I start to think about this more deeply, it does become troublesome. But I think the thing that Close to the Edge has is it's one of the first. It could have well come out of Atom Heart Mother to some extent, Lizard by King Crimson to some extent, and Yes, decide to take on this sidelong epic. Why is this the greatest one of all time? There's definitely a sense that Yes are at the peak of their powers, and they're exploring things they don't understand, and things are just happening that are just incredible. I think we have to go to what's actually going on the album. I think it's very hard for me to hear to go, well, it opens up with that sort of build up, doesn't it, of the birds, and it spins in, and suddenly you're in this sort of almost like jazz rock fusion complexity. It's all spinning all over the place, and then suddenly it stops. We have that great big and then we're back in, and then we get ba-ba-dam, 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 and then we have this incredible melody kick in. That's just the first few minutes of it. I think there's something of the symphonic, the idea of the way themes are developed. And I think this came from Yes's shortcomings. I think John Anderson was a genius at writing melodies that were as strong as a classical piece of music. Many rock bands can't do this. His voice wasn't like a Robert Plant or Paul Rodgers. It was like he could sing something that seems as though it was coming out of, I don't know, Sibelius. Right? Because that's the sort of thing they're exploring. And I think once Steve Howard, then especially when Wakeman came in, Wakeman's ability to arrange these beautiful melodies means this is the closest to being like a symphony in rock. But actually, yes, did not have the compositional virtuosity of a Keith Emerson or the keyboardist Joe Miniker, what's his name? Kenny Miniker, who really could compose like a classical composer within a rock band. Yes, not quite that. Why? Because they have these incredible pop songs in there as well. That's what it is. This is why this is better than even the multi-million selling Tubular Bells. Because you have John Anderson who can write a pop song, write a pop hook. I will go back to this, I think. But that's what we've got number one. It's close to the edge. This video has been an epic. My voice is gone. I'm tired. I want to go home. I had a little drink about an hour to go and it's gone right to my head. What am I talking about? Oh, did you enjoy that one, Proggers? Was it an epic? Bloody hell. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe, become a member or Patreon. Put some money in the PayPal tip jar. And could somebody send me in a packet of bloody some hot lemon sweets, lozenge. I need that. My throat's just. I thought I was feeling better, but this has killed me. Talking wears you out, you know.